guys, welcome back to another episode of 5 Drinks at Midnight. In the show, we bring in the questions, guests bring the drinks, we try to wrap up before midnight. Today, we are headed to the Riff Raff Club to talk to legend Charles Joly. But before we do, like and subscribe, hit the bells, the whistles, leave a comment if you like what we're doing. Let's get started. Thank you so much for joining us. 5 drinks at midnight, 5 drinks, 5 questions, midnight, whatever comes first. How you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting us to the Riff Raff Club. I'm really looking forward to this. This is amazing.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to chatting with you as well. I'm glad we finally made it.
We finally made it work. So yeah. I guess question, what are we drinking first?
We're starting off with some caffeine.
Excellent.
A little tea here. I'm a massive tea drinker.
Okay.
And I'd say it honestly started with tea and cocktails before I jumped on so much tea on its own. This is a osmanthus oolong tea.
Awesome.
Yeah, super good. Oolong is kind of like middle of the road, mid-oxidized tea, not quite as raw as a green tea and not as oxidized as a black tea.
Fuck yeah, awesome. Cheers.
All right. We got our little vintage Hall mugs here. We're using these for some hot cocktails at the bar. I love.
Excellent.
This is a great classic, like 1960s, 1970s mug, and it's awesome for toddies or anything else, but it works for tea too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cheers. All right. Well, question one. It's always an origin story.
Oh, good.
But how'd you get started in the hospitality business?
Yeah, bitten by a spider while in the lab. I told this story a bunch of times, and I think I remember it all correctly because it was very much booze fueled when it happened. I was home from college and had no intention of being in hospitality. Was just 21, and there was a huge kind of, I don't call it underground. It was a legal club, but it was very much on the end of the rave era in the late 90s in Chicago. Yeah, and it was, it was in a seedy part of town at the time. Best DJs from around the world would come on this place called Crowbar. Maybe it's still there and it's not like a newer iteration of itself, but I mean, at that time it was just a warehouse that was spray painted all black. 90% of the place was a dance floor. And, it wasn't like bottle service era. It was, everyone went to like worship the DJ. So we would go, I was playing in bands and I was playing in punk rock bands actually. And it's funny, I'm still friends with all those people. And we always talk about it, we're like, man, like it's kind of interesting that all these like punk kids, we used to go out dancing to club music, but it was like Chicago house. It was the home of that. And the residents at that time were this pretty well-known DJ called Psycho Bitch and this other woman called Terry Bristol were like the residents in there, but they had everybody roll through there. Anyways, weekend night, we're there, we're dancing, we're hanging out, we're partying, and it's got to be well past midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning. The place was open till 4 or 5, depending on Friday, Saturday. And I ran into a buddy from high school who was working there, and I'd gone to all 4 years of high school with this guy. And my buddy Cliff, and I was like, I was definitely in it. I was probably some drinks in, and probably some dance motivation as well in me. And I was like, yo, Cliffy, I'm like, man, you guys hired at all? I could use a job for the summer. And I remember we took me into what was the bar back room. I didn't even, barely knew what a bar back was at that point. And it was a built-in cooler. That was like a walk-in cooler that they had built that was just tucked behind this bar off the dance floor. Cases of beer to the ceiling. These like grizzly nightclub barbacks are just sitting in there. They made seats out of the beer cases of beer, and that's where they go to hide as well. And I scribbled out an application, and I knew at the time. I actually pride myself and I have a very nice penmanship, but I knew at the time I was like, holy shit, this isn't legible. And I got a call a little bit later, and I ended up being a barback at this fucking place, and talk about getting thrown, like totally missed the frying pan straight into the fire. because this place was wild. I mean, it would do a couple thousand people in a night. Crazy long hours. You know, we'd walk out of there at 6, 7 a.m. We had the barback team. There was like anywhere from 8 to 10 of us barbacking.
Okay.
And it was an army that we came in, and it was just a wild party. You know, and I learned so much in that. You learn, you know, working as a team. You learn speed. You learn dealing with every adverse situation that could be thrown at you, from booze to drugs to fights to just, you know, dealing with madness that comes with that kind of
pure fucking chaos.
Yeah, it was like the door at this place was run like very Studio 54, or like the way like Bergheim in Berlin is. There were just like these wonderful rave kids that ran the door, beautiful freaks, and like, you know, and you know, 14-inch stacked shoes and like full makeup and colored dreads, and they picked and choose who they wanted to come in, and like the weirder you were, the better the chance you had of getting in. So it was awesome. I mean, I was like wide-eyed, you know, everyone was beautiful and done up and had so much style, and it was, you know, it was just cool to be thrown into that world. And it was the most respected club in the city as well. So if you worked there on your nights off, you had, you know, it gave you cred anywhere else, and you could walk in any place else that you went to. So, but I barbacked for years before I ever made a drink, and happily. I never bartended at that place. Very, very hard to get a bartending job. They were super lucrative. I mean, my barbacking job there was super lucrative, although I had zero to show for it, because you give a 20-year-old, it was all cash in hand at that time.
Sure.
You know, so you're walking out with $400, $500, $800+ in cash. You're lucky if it lasted like through the weekend.
Yeah.
Like our Sunday Mondays were our Friday Saturdays.
Sure.
To go out on. So like Monday night was a big industry night, and we would go to some parties around the city, and then, you know, you end up giving it all back to other bartenders.
Yeah. It goes out just as fast as you're making it.
It does. It's, you know, you're over. It's burning a hole in your pocket.
Yeah.
You're over tipping. You're partying. You're, you know, 4 a.m. You know, breakfast.
Yeah.
All of it.
The Denny's, the Waffle Houses,
exactly.
the George Webb's, I think. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
So then, how did you finally get then behind the stick?
Yeah. So I went through a series of bars and kind of clubs, a high volume situation, and then eventually about 3 or 4 places in, I ended up not going back to school. Ended up playing music, and you know, I was like, all right, let's do it. I'm gonna work. I'm gonna take a break from school. It didn't like click the way that I wanted it to. I wasn't quite ready for it, to be quite honest. I was a little immature for it, and I was fucking around. So it would have been a very different life arc. You know, but I've stayed done that. So ended up playing in a couple different bands, and the bar world gives you a lot of flexibility when you're an artist in that way. You know, you can get nights off easy enough. You can do whatever you need to do during the day. If you've got a gig, people are usually pretty cool about letting you, you know, you can always get somebody to cover your shift or whatnot. It's not like a corporate job. So I ended up working at this neighborhood place called Bigwig, which was in Wicker Park, early in Wicker Park, when the Wicker Park neighborhood of Chicago is, at that time, it was all artist lofts. It was pretty dingy, pretty run down, and it was super cool. Great dive bars, you know, a couple little music venues, and it was an artist hub. And that's, I mean, it's just like places in any cities. I've covered all over New York. The artists and the whatever they are at that time, hipster or whatever the word is, that generation, makes it cool. And then it slowly gets gentrified, and then, you know, it jumps the shark. So, but at that time, we had a little bar, and kind of DJ driven as well. I had all different kinds of nights on it, and I ended up, I think like a lot of barbacks and a lot of young guys. Somebody didn't show up for their shift or whatever, and I knew the bar inside out. Barbacks know everything. They're like, put me in, coach.
Yeah,
you know?
all right.
I went and crushed it and did really well, and they didn't, like, it's funny, I don't know, they didn't want me to bartend at first because they thought I was too shy. and I've had that happen a lot. 'Cause I can be pretty introverted in my life, in different stages of my life, different jobs that I've done. I've wanted to do something more forward facing, and they're like, oh, well, like, you don't have the personality for that. I'm like, no, put me in, and like I can fucking turn it on. You know? So, and did, and proved, you know, and did really well with it, and fell in love with it, of course, instantly. You know, the transition from bar back to bartender, you do give up some freedom, though. When you're a bar back, you have this anonymity. You can just disappear. Like, if you want to walk away, you can walk away. There's always something to be done someplace, you know. Like the bartender, you're stuck.
You're stuck behind that.
You know? So, but I fucking loved it, though. I loved it. I ended up, so I would go on to that place, bartended it, and then, you know, I'm very opinionated and can't leave well enough alone. So I always had ideas about, well, why this is stupid. Why are we doing it this way? Why we did this way? And then I got suckered into managing. You know, as so many of us do. You think it's a vertical thing. Here, how about more work, less money? I bartended while I was managing, though. That company that owned that place, Bigwig, ended up was like a budding young hospitality group. They opened another bar in Wicker Park and asked me to come over and manage it. So I came on and was managing and bartending that, and then they ended up opening 7 different venues, and I became their operations director, and moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, opened a bar, moved to Milwaukee, opened a bar.
Actually, it's pronounced Milwaukee, which is Algonquin for the good land.
And then ended up really by accident in like 2006-07. The last bar I opened with them was called The Drawing Room in Chicago, which they had bought this in the Gold Coast of Chicago. It was a basement bar, and it was a pretty famous nightclub in Chicago at the time. It's called Le Passage. It had been there for many, many years. Really cool cobblestone alley entrance. It had a legacy at the time. And it kind of run its course. So this bar group I was working for bought it, and they had the back room. And that was the old VIP room for the club. They wanted to split it off. It had its own entrance off of Rush Street. And they said, well, what are we going to put in here? I'm like, let's do like a nice restaurant and, I don't know, a cocktail bar. I'm like, I don't know. They kind of didn't know a whole lot about what we were doing, and there were not any full-fledged cocktail bars in the city yet at that point. There were great things in cocktails happening at restaurants. But we ended up accidentally opening one of the first cocktail bars in Chicago in the Drawing Room, the same month that the Violet Hour in Chicago opened up in Wicker Park. So kind of at the same time, unbeknownst to one another, to some extent, we were opening up these 2 bars. And they're so different from one another. They were so complementary, completely different parts of the city, that it was great. And people were hungry for it. And there were some great bartenders working around at other restaurants, mostly, that then would become, even today, like back at that day, a great guy by the name of Peter Vestinos, who's a dear friend, was bartending at a place called Sepia, which is still a restaurant that's still there. He now has several bars in the city. They just got nominated for James Beard at his newest place, Bisou. They just won Jean Pache Award. So yeah, it's cool. Like, it's kind of to see the arc we came up with as baby bartenders, and now we're all kind of figuring out and doing our thing as adults, you know.
And then you were the first American to win the global competition, correct? Yeah. Or the only American?
The only one so far.
Yeah.
We're trying every year to get it to bring the title back to the U.S. So I did that Drawing Room gig for a while, and then went over to Aviary. And while I was at Aviary in 2014, as a beverage director there, I competed in World Class, which is multinational. It was, almost 50 countries compete in it, kind of like the Olympics. You win in the U.S. because of the size of our country. You have to win your region, and then you win the national competition, which actually the national was in New York that year. Some killer bartenders in that. The guy before me, the year before me, was Jeff Bell of PDT.
Yep.
So an awesome pedigree, awesome gentleman. We came to New York for the final with that, and it was me and Julio Cabrera from Miami, who was just the George Clooney of bartenders. So some stiff competition and dear friends, and I got to go go to the UK and represent the US in 2014 and won the global. So super cool.
That's awesome.
It's a great, opportunity. It was a great opportunity. I still do lots of work with that's sponsored by Diageo, and I still do a lot of freelance work with them. I've got, we're doing got the Oscars in the beginning of March. That's with Don Julio, and done the Emmys with Kettle One for many years.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot has come of it.
Nice. And then also, you were on the TV show. You won what was it, On the Rocks? Was it? Was that the?
That was very early.
We looked nationwide for 8 of the best bartenders who knew how to shake up the bar. This is On the Rocks, the search for America's top bartender.
No one, you and 11 people saw that. Yeah, that was an absolute. Simon Ford, Ford's Gin, was working for Absolute at the time, and he single-handedly basically resurrected the Plymouth Gin category and the brand Plymouth Gin. But he had a heavy hand in this On the Rocks TV show. They did 2 years of it, and it was really a bartending reality show, but it was like, there was like, years before he got involved, there were like a challenge, how many phone numbers can you get? There's like dudes with their shirts off.
Yeah.
And this is like 2010, I want to say that On the Rocks was done maybe. So pretty early in the cocktail world. He's like, can we do this serious? So we got in some real judges. He had Tobin Ellis and Julie Reiner, Aisha Sharp as the judges, and brought out really great bartenders. There's an awesome bartender that was in the final with me. Was from Employees Only, Milosh. And there's a bunch of other great bartenders. We all know one another. Small community in 2010. We were shooting in LA, staying at the Beverly Hilton. And the producers were like, "Fuck you guys! Like, this is like supposed to be a reality show. Like, can we get some drama? It's like a class reunion."
Everybody loves each other.
Yeah, we were awesome. We were all like rooting. We were all cheering for each other. We were like genuinely rooting for each other. We drank there's the liquor store next to the hotel. We sold them out of Fernet at the time. We bought every bottle like throughout the course of the week. We were going and icing was all the rage at the moment. And so we really creatively were constantly icing each other all week long and icing the crew of the production crew and like sneaking into their like production van in the glove box, planting stuff in the elevator so when the doors opened on people in the hotel. It was fun and stupid and ridiculous. I mean, it was, oh my God, the poor guy next to me, we scaled the balconies from my room to his one night, and he had a big night out, and he had gotten eliminated, he had a big night out, went out on a date or whatever, and we took everything out of his hotel room, everything except for his left shoes, and moved it into my room. So when he woke up, anything that wasn't nailed down, and we had a couple of Chardonnays in us. So, but he knocks on my door at like 8 in the morning. He's just like, toilet paper. Sorry, bro. Good man. He took it very well.
Awesome.
That was good. That was a fun show, and it was great. And it was, but it was on after Saturday. This is pre-Netflix.
Yeah, I was gonna say
So it was on after Saturday Night Live in a really weird time slot because having alcohol on network television is super taboo.
Yep.
It's much different now, but in that time, they didn't put hard liquor on network television. So who the hell is when all bartenders, literally every bartender on the planet's at work.
At
fucking midnight on Saturday. So when they aired it at the drawing room, I was at the drawing room still at that time. We rolled in a TV and had a viewing parties on Saturday night. People were like, why are you watching it? Why do you have a TV on at 12:30 at night in a bar? We're like, oh, our bartender's on the show. I couldn't tell anybody I won. But anyways, it was great. It was awesome. The check cashed, and it was awesome. I met a lot of great people, and it was certainly good for getting my name out there. I did a lot of competitions back in the day. It was a fun thing in that era and through the 2000s. Just a good way to get to know people, get to meet other people, to travel, and it was just really supportive. Everyone was really in it. It just wasn't as big, you know. All the blogs were not happening, all the podcasts weren't happening yet. All these books hadn't been written, and so it was the way we got to know one another. That's awesome. It's like we write Tales of the Cocktail at that time. Maybe there was 4,000 people or something, at that time, and each year prior to that, I think I've been going to Tail since about 07. Probably 2,500 people or something like that, maybe less. And at that time, and it's growing, so fast.
Yeah. Well, I think that was an awesome origin story in question 1. So.
Oh shit! Was that still question 1?
Yeah. See? We nailed 3 of them down in the first question, but there we go. Cheers. All right, question 2, drink 2. What are we drinking?
All right, this is the Yellow Jacket. It's one of the most simple cocktails that I've created recently.
Cheers.
It's basically a mezcal bee's knees.
Okay.
So we'll call it the Yellow Jacket. It's got a little more oomph, a little more sting than a bee's knees, with mezcal, yellow chartreuse, honey, and citrus. Yeah, so it's simple kind of modern, contemporary classic.
And then is the glassware vintage as well?
This is not. This
is
is modern glassware, but it's definitely Shots Diesel definitely made to look. It got that vintage Nick and Nora look to it.
Oh, yeah, that
Just
is.
start bright and refreshing. Start with a little caffeine, move a little bright and refreshing. We'll build throughout the chat.
All right. So question 2, from our research, social stalking that we've done, I've been told that you are a stickler about hospitality, and you have a quote that I absolutely love, which is, "I'd rather have a shitty cocktail and great service versus shitty service and a great cocktail."
That sounds about right.
Right?
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
That sounds about right. Yeah. Sounds like something I'd say.
Yep. Shitty cocktail, great service versus great cocktail, shitty service.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yep. So, question: do you see a difference between hospitality and service? Do they mean the same thing to you, or are they different?
I think hospitality is like the umbrella. Service is one aspect of hospitality, right? I think hospitality is the big picture, right? It's the umbrella. And I would. Give me a dive bar with dim lights and a great jukebox and a friendly bartender that has 6 bottles on the back bar and a couple of domestic beers. Fuck it, like we have a good time in that bar.
Yeah.
Like the bartender's friendly, and even last night I went to a bunch of astounding bars last night. Everything from Michelin star type service down to we finished off at Bar Snack. Which is like just very it's just a bar's bar.
Yeah, neighborhood bar. Yeah.
And he makes killer cocktails, right? But I finished with the pint and a tequila. Side by side, and that was great, and it was so much fun and so hospitable, and everyone around you is having a good time. And that's because cocktails are easy.
Yeah.
Like we can teach people to make good drinks, right? A few steps and you can make really nice drinks. Just some decent citrus and a little what you can get done with lemon juice, lime juice, a bottle of simple syrup, and a bottle of bitters. You don't need much, like at any basic bar, that's all you need, unless you want to go you're doing a cocktail, like a beer cocktail program. But the hospitality, you can't. It's harder to teach that, right? That's got to be innate. That's got to be it's got to be something you enjoy doing, or else it is. It's shallow. It's obvious. If it's forced, you've got to. And we all ebb and flow. Nobody's at an 11 at all times. But that's why we go out. We can drink at home. You go out for camaraderie and the hospitality and the warmth and welcome. It's like we can get almost anything delivered to your house right now via an app, but you can't get hospitality delivered.
I agree. Do you still like to go out? Like, do you find it enjoyable, or is it kind of hard to turn the brain off and go out?
No, I love it. And I don't have I'm not like judging places. I mean, I'm always fucking judging shit, but I'm not like holding. I know read the room, right? Like I'm not going into if a place is purporting itself to be and making the noises to be something. It is a cocktail bar, whatnot. And of course, that's what I'm going to be looking for, and my expectation is going to be different than if I go to a neighborhood bar. I'm not going to be pissed about the quality of the rice in corner bar. Like it is what it is. Like, great, I know where I'm at. Like it's and I'm fine with that. And honestly, I drank a lot of cocktails last night because there are bars I've never been to before, so I wanted to see what the bartenders were doing and you know, be respectful to their menus like you're in there. But like I said, then I finished with a pint of Guinness and tequila. So,
there you go.
And that's more like what I normally drink. It's just nipping some straight agave or whatever on ice or neat. I love to be out, of course. We're social beings. I think so many of us, though, in the bar, like I said earlier, I'm an introvert, but we're these like extroverted introverts, you know? The bar, just like when I was a musician, I think it did the same thing for me. Gives you a stage, gives you a platform. Yeah. You know, and I missed. I at some point I stopped playing music, and that was like when I got a salary position and had some benefits for the very first time. That's when I had to make the choice. I'm like, so my band, I'm like, are we gonna get signed to a record label and do something with this, or I'm like, I'm a better bartender than a guitar player by fucking far. And that's not saying much. It's not saying that the bar is not very high on that situation because I'm not a great musician by any means, but definitely was a better bartender. So.
And then is a pint of Guinness and a shot of tequila usually your go-to?
I would say not Guinness all the time.
Okay.
But I trusted the barman last night. And he's like, oh, how about a pint? And I was like, you guys did this right. There's no way. This is set up right. You're going to have like somebody who's got a proper tap system set up, and you know you're going to get a really nice pint pull. I do enjoy it. I'll probably head to Swift after we're done.
Okay.
Actually, at some point. So, although I'm saying no, like if when in the right place.
Yes.
I would say I honestly I drink mostly either tequila. It's typically, which I've just been on that a lot, or aged rum. Okay. I also was nipping on some nice long aged rum last night. Nice. So yeah, I love it. I think out of that category's come so far. Yeah. But for many, well over 10 years, I probably transitioned from American whiskeys into aged rums because it was undiscovered and the bottles, nobody cared about it. So the bottles were pretty cheap, and you can get, they were just like, felt like this undiscovered category, and I love the kind of roundness that you get with a long aged rum. Yeah.
That's what we've been talking a lot lately. Is don't fucking tell anybody about rum because it's gonna go through the fucking roof just like the way
it's too late. It's too late, right? All those bottles are north of $100. Yeah. But you still can find great deals, and there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a long way to go in that category. It's still pretty nerdy. Yeah. All right.
There we go. Question 2. Done. Question 3. Drink 3. What are we drinking?
All right. This is called the Moonlighter. So if the sun's still up, I'm going to keep it a little.
Very nice.
Refreshing. So it's kind of a clarified Collins. It's a vodka-based Collins with chamomile and lavender, and then it's acidulated with a little bit of citric. And then we did these custom-etched Empire cubes because we've got the, you kind of hold it up. This one didn't temper, so it's practical to ice a little bit. But this company I did some work with since they're a little startup in Petaluma, California. Etches these for us.
Oh, nice.
And kind of just nice. I originally created this for the Emmys with Kettle One. It was one of the specialty drinks we did. It's real easy drinking carbonated Collins, clarified Collins.
Oh, nice. Yeah, cheers. All right. So, question 3.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna read it just as again.
Yeah. Go for it.
What do you hope your legacy will be in the cocktail world?
Oh, man.
And how do you see your work influencing the next generation of bartenders?
Oh man, that's heavy legacy.
Yeah.
Fuck. I don't know.
We're going deep.
Yeah.
3 drinks in.
I'm still like actively working every day, and still figuring out a lot of things myself, But I think it is, I love to see the family tree of like bartenders, mentees, mentors. I know, where I came from, like a woman named Bridget Albert, super influential in the Chicago bar scene. At the same time, as we said, like when we had opened the drawing room, Violet Hour opened, Toby Maloney came from New York there and was very influential. There's like two big groups of us in Chicago, and it was like either you were under, had learned from Toby, or you learned from Bridget, who had this really amazing course called the Academy of Spirits and Fine Service. It was a nonprofit thing run through, she was a USBG, she still is, and through one of the distributors and one of the liquor distributors. And anyways, every week was a different in-depth dive into a different spirit, and you just got together and you just met. It was just networking and learning, and it was just this really interesting foundation and way to explore and see what parts interest you. So I think, I've been really fortunate to be beverage director or the lead at several different places. And so I definitely see the folks that I worked with and kind of what they've done and what they've gone on to do, and that's always amazing to see people be successful that hopefully picked up some good habits with the bad habits.
Yeah.
I guess I try to lend a hand whenever I can. Lots of people, I ask people for help or for questions. I ask questions of people all the time because it's anything. Like there's so much. We're all independents. There's no guidebook necessarily for what we do. So we all kind of work on our own. Again, it's not a big corporate thing. So if you're consulting, if you're getting a partnership in a bar, if you're starting a brand, like what do you do? And so I hope that I can help people not make the same mistakes I've made, and then we can learn from one another moving forward. I'd like to solidify that a little bit more. I definitely want to do a book at some point. It's been on my list for many years. And to just kind of have it all in one place, to start and kind of write it down, because it's scribbled on in a dozen or more different notebooks and napkins and everything else over the guest checks that are shoved in the books and endless different files, but it's not all in one place. So it'd be nice to compile. It'd be nice just to have that, and 'cause you never know, man. Might walk out the door and fucking cab doesn't stop.
Buzz fall down. That is my biggest fear here. It's
no guarantees. So do it while you can. I don't know. I just think it's so. I mean, I think about it all the time, and even there are very hard days. I've been independent since about 2014, working on my own. It's scary, but it's great.
Yeah.
Like I would never want to do it any other way now. I don't know.
All right. And then, is there one piece of advice that you've gotten that you wish you would have gotten earlier in life?
I don't even follow all the great. I wish I followed more of the great advice that I've gotten. I don't do it now, and I wish I was better about it. But Dale DeGroff told me a long time ago. He's like, hey, you're doing all this traveling and everything. He's like, keep a journal, write stuff down, and I totally don't do it. But I've forgotten more than I remember. That's for sure. And had the opportunity to meet so many great people, travel so many great places. It's here, but then that's gone at some point, right? Like you need to do something. Need to do something with it. I tell people, I think in our business, a lot of us, I see it happen every day, and even no matter how hard you try, a lot of us do get taken advantage of, and because we're eager, we're creative, we have, this craft that we've honed, and then people with money want that. But often you're the first ones to get screwed, the last to get paid, or I see so many bad partnership deals where people are like, I'm an owner. I'm like, what does that mean on paper? Really, what does that mean? Your card says one thing, but what does that mean for you at the end of the day? And it ends up being some shitty profit sharing or like my minimal percentage partnership that never pays anything. And I've been on the shit end of that stick in the past. And so, a dear friend of mine was a lawyer. Met him at the drawing room. Was coming all the time. Sit at the bar, and it was probably around the time I did that on the Rock show, and I had a consulting gig go bad. And he's like, "Don't you ever sign another contract without letting me look at it first?" And I was like, probably words he regrets to this day. I was like, what about these? Right?
We're about to do something.
Yeah. So he became my lawyer. He's a dear friend, but it helped. You need to spend a few bucks to spend a few bucks to have a lawyer look at contracts and make sure that what you're signing is good when you're getting into business. As you take, so many of us want to take that step and partner. We don't have the who the hell has enough money to like just walk in and flat out start a bar 100% on their own as a bartender. Not many people. Like when I did that reality show, I did have a lawyer look at it, and I had him alter it. There's some crazy things in that contract. And the producer said, you're the only one out of all the bartenders that altered their contract. Everyone just signed it right away. And it was like the same contract that they used for Big Brother and these other like really extreme reality shows. You signed away your life in that thing, and they could film you anywhere, they could edit it and fictionalize it in any way they wanted. Like we eliminated all that stuff in that contract, but that's not what they were going for in our show. But they could have if they wanted to. So there's don't just cover your bases, spend a couple bucks and get somebody to who knows what they're talking about to read your contracts.
Awesome. Well, that was going to be my follow-up question of what advice would you have for someone young coming up, and I think you just nailed it. So.
I don't know. Don't I think just if you want to do things, just get out there and do them. Like don't waste your time. Like it goes by so quick. You hear it, and I mean I'm of a certain age now. I feel fucking great, you know what I mean? But I don't feel my age at all, and it just goes by quicker and quicker as you do get older. I think, and it's awesome. I don't know. You have these magic moments in the industry where you have like a dream team that you work with in a certain bar. Like that stuff doesn't last forever. It ebbs and flows. It comes and goes. So that might be for a year or two. Like we had that at Crowbar, we had that at the Drawing, we had it in different places I work, and just enjoy those moments. I mean, those people, I've been friends been in the industry for over 25 years now. I'm friends with people from that first bar job.
Awesome. There we go. Question 3 done.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right.
Very nice.
2-1. 1980s beefeater, dry vermouth blend, Jamaican house. So this is from I think 2005. Pernod Ricard bought beefeater.
Okay.
And acquisition with a lot of other stuff. This is late 80s. We call it the original Beetlejuice era beefeater.
Okay.
And we've got 1980s, we've got the 1970s beefeater as well, some old Tanqueray. You can do the vintage merch. It's just nice to see how these evolve over time. Still 47% at this time, of course, in terms of the ABV. But one of the great classic London dry style brands, along with Tanqueray and Bombay White Label.
Fuck yeah, that's. Oh.
I'll finish this one with you as we chat.
Cheers.
So, nice progression in
Oh yeah, that's real fucking nice. Alright, so question 4. You kind of done it all, and from our stalking, you classify yourself as a hustler quite a bit. You're always on the move. So again, from winning on the rocks, the only American to win the World Class Global Bartending competition, consultant. You have Crafthouse Cocktails, which we didn't even get a chance to talk to about.
I didn't have any with me. I didn't have my bottle of cocktails here with us.
And then 2, you are like the American picker of vintage barware, and you have your other side hustle of Telltale Vintage, and then you've had your barware and glassware collection, full-time dog dad. What's next? What haven't you done yet that you would like to do?
I mean, I think I like having my hands on a lot of different things. I think it's important to keep diversified, and I've always had a shit ton of hobbies, whether that have to do with the booze industry or not, that's kind of where like the vintage and antiquing thing spun off of as a, okay, you gotta do something outside the business, you gotta have friends outside the business. I think it's super important. you know, and that was for me to not be a hoarder, and I was going to estate sales, flea markets, and everything else, and I'm a collector. I was like, well, this stuff is great, but I don't have space for it, but I think someone else was. So my best friend, who's out in San Francisco, has also got the same bug. We started Telltale Vintage on Instagram, and we basically just buy and sell. There's very little. There's no real money being made here. We donate back well over 10% of the sales to different animal rescues, and then you factor in time and traveling and all the time you spend looking for the stuff and packing it and then posting it. There's really not a whole lot, but it's fun. And we love doing it, and it's great to be able to give to these amazing charities. Crafthouse Cocktails is just over 10 years. We were very early in the RTD world, and we're still independent. And it's been this up and down wave, and we're on a nice upswing, which is great. We just came out, we did 3 new cocktails and eliminated some things. We've got a partnership launching with United Airlines, which by the time this airs will be on all United flights in the U.S.
Awesome.
With probably 2 to 3 cocktails. That Moonlighter we tasted actually will be one of the cocktails on there. We canned that. We did an espresso martini, which is I fucking love an espresso martini. Like, I'm not fucking shamed at all. I don't believe in guilty pleasures. Like, drink what you like. I met the Nolette family of One Kettle One back in 2014, and been out with them back then, and we were, to go to dinner and have espresso martinis at the end of dinner. I loved it. I think I love it. That drink's popular. I know it's a pain in the ass at times, but it's coming, so prepare your bar for it. You're going to order it, so have the stuff ready for it and make that money on it. It's such an easy drink to make. We did a killer one with Intelligentsia coffee, and then we just did a Mai Tai because the flights to Hawaii and whatnot, and it came out so good. Planetary rums, and worked with like an alchemist on with using their shot. So that's super fun. We're doing that actually here in New York. We're in a lot of Broadway theaters with the. My barware is also about 10 years old now with Fortessa and Schatzwiesel, so barware and glassware. I don't know what's next. So I think I opened the Riff Raff Club here in New York, but that's basically heavy consultancy at the end of the day. So I'll be moving on from that in the spring, and then the hotel's going to do whatever they want to do with it. It'll be in their hands at that point, but. I'm proud of what we did when we opened that place, and I wish them the best as they move forward. It gave me the itch to do more brick and mortar. I'll say that.
Okay.
I haven't had that for a long time, but it did. I loved the reason I did. Big reason I did it is because I wanted to collaborate with the team again. I wanted that creative outlet. I wanted people to bounce off of, to learn with, to learn from, to teach, and a lot of that happened. I got to spend a lot of great time in New York. So I don't know if it's another brick and mortar. I don't know. I mean, I would love, I don't know, pie in the sky. I think a lot of us are working on and would love to continue to spread what we do into, like, I love to work with professional bartenders, but I love working with enthusiasts. Maybe even more, because they're just like these blank canvases that we can, get started on the right path, and they're so excited about the most simple things that we take for granted, the most simple things. And so I love that, and I think there's a huge platform. We haven't really made that bridge into television. And I think there's an opportunity there for somebody to do it well. Drink Masters did a nice job from a show, competition show. I have less interest in that. I don't really want to compete at all. I would judge something like that, I'm sure, would the opportunity arise. I don't know. Like I said, I'd like to do a book. At some point, I want to continue to travel. I'm excited about some trips coming up, see friends, see what people are doing around the world.
That's awesome.
Hang out with my dog as much as possible. I think remind ourselves to take care of ourselves physically too. This job is like, it's hard on you physically from the long hours, the standing, the mechanics of it. Like, people who are not bartenders don't realize that chefs and bartenders are hunched over for hours and hours and hours. And that motion, that repetitive motion, beats people like destroys your body over years. So you gotta take care of yourself. Of course, everything that comes along with the booze too.
Yeah.
You know, handling that responsibly and having a good relationship with it. You know, ebbs and flows. Realistically, you know, I've been in it for a long time, but you know, it's great. I think you learn. You don't last 25 years.
Yeah.
But you can't burn red hot too long, or you burn out. So. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's still so much to do. You know,
Okay.
This industry's still growing.
Is there a holy grail piece that you would want to collect?
For the vintage stuff?
Yeah.
Oh man. It's just like the hunt and like discovering like this stuff is where the fun is.
Okay.
Like digging around and like finding something that's been sitting on a shelf and looked over that hasn't seen the light of day gets me going. Like honestly, like you go to some, you know, someone who's passed estate sale and the stuff's been sitting in their china cabinet for decades and never got used because they got it for their wedding and they only brought it.
Right.
Use this. This stuff needs to have cocktails in it. It probably hasn't had a cocktail in it in 50 years, 60 years, you know. So I love to uncover those things. I really like. I've got some pretty cool like old mechanical like electric shakers like from the 20s and 30s that are like incredibly overbuilt with huge motors in them. I love that stuff. So there's no one thing. I don't know. I was raised by my grandparents, so I feel like I've always had this like. You know, we grew up with these folks that lived through the Depression and all these things. So I've always had that in me. I've been like a 22-year-old punk rock kid, you know, diving off stages with a 90-year-old woman somewhere in the back of his head, you know, sensibility. So I've always had that kind of dichotomy, I guess.
That's fucking awesome. Well, there we go. That's question 4.
All right.
Question 5, drink 5, last drink of the night. What are we drinking?
All right, so I haven't tried this yet. This just got opened. It's a 1964 distillation of Old Granddad Bonded. So definitely, obviously, national, not obviously, but like at that time it was National Distillers. So yeah, older than me. It was only a 4-year-old, but 100 proof and nice fill on it. And yeah, I don't know, we're gonna see how it drinks.
Cheers.
Seems like a good way to finish.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the sun's hitting Empire.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we got a beautiful skyline in the back, and just everything's looking...
Clouds are blowing. Nice, that's held together nicely.
Yeah, ain't mad at that at all.
Yeah, and that, you know, this kind of goes along with my penchant for vintage. Is also went on to vintage spirits. You know, when I was beverage director at the Aviary, we accidentally started the beverage program, the vintage beverage program, at the office.
Right.
It like literally was started with a box of old booze that a friend had. We didn't know like what the hell it was. Nobody knew what it was worth. So we like figured out like a price, which was, you know, felt like a lot of money at the time. Was not. Started with like 6 or 7 bottles, whatever it was, down in the office, and then went nuts with it and went on. And then Mike Melton after me was the next beverage director and carried on and blew it up and kept buying stuff. So I've always collected. I mean, back in the day, you can buy and sell on eBay in bottles, and then they just because you know underage. Underage thing. I was like, I promise you, underage kids are not buying vintage. Vintage whiskey.
They are not thrown down.
Right, but it didn't cost anything back then. You could buy this bottle would have gone for nothing back in the day on eBay. Nobody knew. It was like they were selling dusty stuff from their grandparents' basement. So. But anyways, yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, this is
nice,
gorgeous.
Cool to have at the bar, so it was fun to put the program together at Riff Raff as well, and kind of extend that. Which people come in and get an ounce and taste something. You don't have to go to an auction and buy a stupid expensive bottle. You know, it's not free, but. It's a lot cheaper than buying a whole bottle.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Great. Cheers. I'm just enjoying this. You got me a little speechless here. This is just really fucking delicious.
It is. It's really, really good juice. And at this time, you think about it, you know, it says 4 years. Bourbon's not doing great at this point in its history. So they're trying to do anything they can to sell bottles. So you got to assume that the whiskey in the bottle's considerably older than the 4-year minimum that they're putting on there. Unless it was a single barrel or something, which I doubt. They were not really doing that double batting. But yeah, the bourbon from that era was some good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, actual Van Winkles were distilling.
Yeah.
Weller. And
When Pappy was good.
Yeah. When Pappy was making Pappy.
Yeah.
Whenever Pappy was making, Old Fitzgerald and all the other whiskeys. So.
All right. So,
Anyways.
question 5 comes down to the flip of the Whiskey Wednesday coin.
Shit, okay.
You can flip it, you can spin it, you can do whatever you want. The coin will give us the answer. You don't have to answer.
Okay.
But please feel.
Whiskey Wednesday coin.
Yeah.
Fuck yes, fuck no.
Yeah, one side says fuck yeah, one side says fuck no.
Fuck yeah, fuck no.
No.
Cracking.
Yeah, so that's we do 4 coins a year. Last year we did all myths, so that is our Scottish myth. So it's all about the Corry Wrekin, which is the 3rd largest natural forming whirlpool off the coast of Ireland, or Scotland.
Cool.
And the story goes is that there was an Irish pirate from Ulster that kept sailing over, raping and pillaging. And so to save Scotland, the Sea Witch summoned the Corry Wrekin to sink his ship.
Okay.
So that's the story.
Okay, cool.
So, question 5.
Yeah.
One of the things that I absolutely loved about your menu that you guys have here, but you have a proper Wisconsin Old Fashioned.
Oh, yes.
And you did it right. You actually have a press, a sour, and a sweet old fashioned, and it comes with mushrooms, which blows people away. It's one of my most hated Instagram videos because watching people freak out about me adding squirt and mushrooms and an onion to an old fashioned, and I love it. It's a Wisconsin thing. But question 5: is a Wisconsin old fashioned an old fashioned?
Oh, 100%. And of course it is, yeah. It's its own version of the old fashioned that developed, and how can the entire state of Wisconsin be wrong?
Yeah, right? Exactly.
It's without a doubt.
Yeah.
And that came from, again, I'm from Chicago. Milwaukee's 90 minutes north. Literally an hour and a half without traffic. I've done that, and I opened a bar there. I lived there for a couple of years in 2003, 4, whatever it was. And fell in love with it. I love Milwaukee. I've got a great fondness for Wisconsin. Milwaukee's a great bar town. It's always has been, think about the brewing history there, right?
Make our dreams come true, doing it our way.
Like Miller Pass, all those, but going back to the turn of the century when those were juggernauts, and they still are, but like at the time, and distilling and whatnot. But yeah, it's a brandy old fashioned, and it's made in a very particular way. It has nothing to do with the type of old fashioned that you drink at a fancy cocktail bar now. The first old fashioned I learned though was more what I would call like the Dale DeGroff style old fashioned, which he had in like Crafted a Cocktail, which was a muddled orange and cherry old fashioned. That's the way we learned with sugar cube and bitters. With whiskey though, not brandy. And when we would clean it up a little bit and then do a nice like cherry orange flag on it. No sour Sprite or anything. It's just stirred and whatnot. But so we're somewhere between that Wisconsin old fashioned and the fruits. A lot of people call it the fruit salad old fashioned. Yeah. That's a good drink too. And I feel like it was like Wondrich and whatnot who then helped uncover and probably a lot of the New York and London bartenders in the 2000s. What I think we call like the old fashioned, right? Like stripped down, just bitter sugar, spirit dilution, right? And the cocktail in its most raw form, as defined, 1806, right? Like this is like the word cocktail. That's it. Those 4 things. So that is the way you get it now, and that's great. I love an old fashioned that way. Booze, little sugar. Gives a little body, just rounds it out, a couple dashes of bitter, stir down. But you know what? Like a muddled old fashioned is great. I was up in Wisconsin this summer. Yeah. We were up at a lake in the middle of Wisconsin. My phone, bless its soul, off the fucking side of a pontoon, right in the bottom of that murky ass lake.
Yeah,
it should be.
Going forever.
When you're in Wisconsin, you're on a pontoon. My dog was out with me. It's a life jacket on. It's great.
That's awesome.
But we're going to these supper clubs and dive bars in the neighborhood. I ordered an old Wisconsin old fashioned everywhere. They don't call it Wisconsin old fashioned.
It's just old fashioned, yeah.
Everyone made it so different. One would come in a pint glass, and like the amount of sweet, sour you get in it. Again, the cherries, olives, fucking mushrooms.
Yeah.
Pickled we bring the pickled mushrooms in from Wisconsin.
Nice.
That we use here. Farmers market by my house in Logan Square in Chicago. Had a Wisconsin pop-up in there, and I go, oh shit, these are delicious. And so I started buying
nice.
them and getting the pickled mushrooms. And,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's its own thing.
Yeah,
It's
I love
its own
it.
thing, right? You gotta know what you're ordering, of course.
Yeah.
If you're expecting a simple, clean old-fashioned, and
Yeah.
that thing shows up, you're gonna be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
A little bit of a party. It's almost more of a whiskey sour in a way.
That's
like
where-
a whiskey Collins at that point, because it's a significant dose of the soda in
Yeah,
it, whether
yeah.
it's Squirt and Sprite or one or the other, or Squirt and soda,
Yeah.
soda water like a seltzer. Yeah, so you're getting more of a Collins. Really.
That's where I was kind of going with the sour, if you will, because that's where
Yeah, it ends
like
up being that way.
yeah.
Without quite as much of the citrus in
Yeah.
it. Like it depends on how much you get muddled in from the orange. It's not going to be as tangy.
Yeah.
They can get pretty sweet.
Yep.
Depending on who's making it, they'll shovel sugar into there.
Yeah,
So it's not my go-to every day. But I would absolutely go to Wisconsin. Go to the great state of Wisconsin. Order old fashions. Don't make a face. Get your drink.
Yeah.
Roll some bar dice.
Yes.
You know, maybe a couple pull tabs or scratch offs
Oh,
at the
yeah,
bar.
yeah.
Pickled eggs.
Yep.
Disgusting. A pizza in the oven behind the bar.
Yep.
Electric oven. You know, it's great.
Yeah,
The
that's-
bars are still so good.
Yeah, that is.
What are we flipping for? You
Oh, you already answered. You didn't even have to
no, I don't
flip.
need,
So.
this thing would lie if it said no.
Yeah.
It's just for shits and giggles. See what it says.
Fuck yeah.
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 Oz has spoken.
There you go. Well, there we go. That's 5 drinks down, 5 questions answered. Charles, thank you so much for having us at the Riff Raff Club.
Thank you.
Until we can drink together again soon.
See ya.
Cheers.